Okay, so welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the summer camp workshop coach training, as different than the social and build coach training, which some of you will also be participating in on Thursday. In this next section, I refer to social coaches, and I really mean workshop coaches. So please ignore the reference to social coaches. Oh, good question, me. Any other questions?
All right, thank you. That helps a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I would, spend a little bit of time if you haven't really looked at the twinkle twinkle little star thing. Spend a little bit of time with that, only because, and I'm going to share on my DocCam just for those of you who have not seen it yet. So let me unblur first. And if you do not have the latest version of Zoom, that's where you get your blur feature from. Let me switch over to my other camera. So this is kind of the idea for the LED circuit. And so what you're going to need is a positive and a negative rail. So each of these rails each one's positive and one's negative. And they've already learned a little bit about LEDs because of their activity in the morning. So they have some knowledge about it. But they have to come up with some ideas for what kind of constellation. And most of them are making up their own, which is fine. That's constellations or whatever they are. But they're going to get a battery. They're going to get about not quite 3 feet maybe of this tape. They are going to have a 10 LEDs, I think. So they could put a bunch of them in if they wanted to put them in. And then what they're going to have to do is figure out a way to actually close the circuit. So they're going to have to, and then once mine is kind of iffy because the glue doesn't want to hold. But you need to make sure that one of your rails is positive and then the other one is negative. So it's going to be a kind of a guessing game. And the biggest issue with this is kids putting the LEDs on incorrectly, or them finding that they didn't, when they got here to the corner, that they didn't quite make it correctly. And so they don't have a good solid connection going through on the copper tape. You don't want to have to try and do any wires through tape. That doesn't work on the top of the copper tape. You need to have a direct metal connection, metal to metal connection on the top of that tape. We did discover that you could actually tear this accidentally and still have the circuit run. So it's harder. You need to go back and you may need to splice something over. And you definitely don't want these to cross. You don't want these to touch at all at any point until you get to the point where you're going to make a connection. And you can even use an LED to close the circuit on one end of it and use your battery on the other end. And then you just create a flap somebody used just a piece of the copper tape became their flap to go from positive to negative. So think a little bit about this ahead of time, about this particular activity in order to make it work for you. Okay, bye, Olivia, you're already gone, so that's fine. Anything else that we've got? Maybe we can get out of here early this week. Dot, anything that Kathy, anybody wants to offer from prior weeks? We're all good. Awesomeness. That's kind of what I want to hear, is that everything's great and we're all going to do the necessary and we're going to have fun And it's going to be the last week. And so, yes, Sophia.
Hi, I'm sorry, I can't turn on my video, but I did have a question.
Yes.
But of course I'll be able to turn it on
Yes.
when camp starts.
No problem.
But on my kit that I got, I have I see that like I know which days I'm working all the days, but it says time working like 3:30 to 5 and 7:30 to 9, and I was a little bit confused about that.
So the just so people know that she's talking about her tag, I'm assuming. Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's talking about her tag, and on her tag it shows it shows X's in the columns with next to the time. And the real reason the tags were put together was for kitting. So this was to make sure that people put the right kits in. Everybody, every workshop coach gets all of the mandatory kits, along with all the campers get all the mandatory kits. So if you're a workshop coach, not an evening workshop coach, but a workshop coach, you should have gotten Exploring Water, the Magic of Paper, Blowing in the Wind, and the Spectroscope. Those should have been the absolute minimum that you got. If you're working on a Monday, you would also get the DNA one. So you would get the one with the Eppendorf tubes. If you're working Tuesday, you would get the Fold Scope, which is the one that's in a case that looks like this and is purple or green or blue or orange, I think, and maybe red. Yeah, because this is red. That's where they're going to build a microscope out of cardboard. And this one is that activity is one that they spend actually most of their time following along with the instructor. So you will end up spending probably your last 20 minutes to half an hour with the campers, tweaking the final pieces, aspects of them doing their scope, their microscope, but they actually pretty much work through the whole thing with the workshop lead on that one. And so those are the, and then the LEDs that's the 330. So the Fold Scope, the DNA, the LEDs, and the math is on the menu are all we call it optional one. So they're your first optional workshops. And then S2, T2, E2, M2 are the ones that happen at night. So anything that has an M is the very first workshop right after the inspiration hour. You're not going to see that on your tag because everybody's getting that, right? So we didn't need that in order to tell people what to put in the kits. But everything, that's why you'll only see the 3:30 time and the 7:30 time, because those are the only optional ones.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Sophia?
Yeah, and I only have X's under the 3:30 time, so
Right. That means you're not an evening workshop coach.
Okay.
So you're just working in the afternoon, and you'll be done by 5 o'clock.
Okay, great.
Or morning, and I mean, you're a social coach, right? In the morning or build?
Yeah, I'm social.
Oh, you're going to be very highly prized. We have a lot of build coaches and not as many social coaches. So pay attention closely. You'll be they'll love you, and they're going to want to make you do everything. Just so you know.
Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. If you do have questions, just send them to me. Hopefully everybody's been getting their emails. Anybody not get their emails telling them, giving them links or telling them, I mean, there's a couple people that may have gotten some stray breakout room notifications because in the past you may have been a social coach and now you're not. And so it's telling you, it's giving you breakout room assignments, but that's because I'm not a very good programmer. That's all. That's all that is. It's coding. It's all coding. And as you'll find out this next week, it's all about where your semicolons are. So keep that in mind. It's all about your semicolons. So coding is that way. It's like, oh, great. Okay, and yes, look in your lunchbox, some of this, if you can't find your fold scope, look in this bag. We call this the lunch box or the lunch bag. Look in that one and see if the envelope is in there. We do have some extra ones. So if for some reason you're supposed to be a workshop coach and you don't have a fold scope, send me an email and I can stick one in the mail and hopefully you'll get it in time to be able to do it next Tuesday. Your coordinators also may have some. Okay. Yes, Terry.
Yeah, I haven't been able to download the files yet. I don't know, are you sending them directly to, and I think it's in the survey forms. Is that where I look for it?
For
Well, my Google files, because I didn't see anything in my Google yet.
talking about the Google Drive.
Right, I haven't seen any files
So
there.
what I'm going to do is send a notification, an updates notification like I did last camp. I'll send that out to you. It'll probably be Saturday morning with any final notifications, and that will also provide you the it'll provide you the direct links to all of the training and to the actual drive folders where everything will be resident. And you're a social coach, or you're
Right. No, I'm a social coach.
yeah. So you'll get, you will, it's probably, all of this is probably much more relevant to social and build coaches. The Google Drive folders are much more relevant to them because you're going to have to be sharing that with your campers. We don't do that in the workshop period. So when, you know, all of that would strictly be you sharing a link in the chat box, maybe to a particular file that happens to be located in a folder. But for the most part, you're not going to be doing a lot of sharing of what's in that the Google Drive folders with the camper,
Right.
as you will be in the morning. And so the morning sessions, we'll spend more time talking about that on Thursday. And you'll actually get access to that folder on Thursday. I think they may have them up. I know I cleaned them out. I don't know if she's actually put the new information back in it yet.
Okay.
But I suspect that may not be done until Friday.
All righty. That sounds good.
Anything else? Yes, Mickey.
I just want to make sure that you're going to post the coaching notes update and the memo to Camp 3 water coaches in location that they can all find it. 'Cause
Yep.
At this point, I can't find it. That's all right.
Okay, well, I put it in their folder. And I sent them out an email to that. I think I copied you on some of the email. I CC'd you. You should have gotten some notifications when it went to some of them. But if you didn't, I need to, again, look at my coding and see why it's not going out. But let me, I'm going to go ahead and put that in your, in the chat box again, just to make sure it's there.